Hi everyone, my name is Baya Dilaja and I'm going to be taking you through some of the information that you're going to need to know to go through the application process for Common Core. Now, all you have to do is, if you want to send in a question for me to answer at the end, you can just use the chat function in the YouTube chat and I'll try and get to as many of those questions at the end as possible. Some of you will have already submitted questions, and I'll start with the submitted questions first, although I've tried to ensure that as many of those other kind of niggly questions have been answered through this presentation. So here we go. I'd also like to start by saying, and just reading out what's on the screen here, this fund stands with Black communities across the UK, and we do truly believe that together we will thrive. So Common Core was built because we were concerned with the way that things were going, that considering everything that's happening with COVID, that the resource gaps that Black-led organizations already face would be further exacerbated through the COVID period, through the pandemic. And knowing that so many Black-led organizations are dependent on personal finances and a number of other things that racial counterparts don't necessarily have to deal with to the level of and extent that Black people do when they're leading third sector organizations, we thought we would build something that would ensure that we were contributing in some way, although it's not a catch-all support to everybody as it is only a few grants. We are hoping that we can be a true help to some organizations in what we're doing. So just a quick roundup of what Common Core is again. It is £1,000 to £3,000. We were thankfully given some money by Paul Hamlin Foundation to run this. And I am Baya Dilaja. I am your fund manager. I'm also the CEO of Do It Now, which is a social enterprise that works explicitly with Black entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs, and charity leaders to ensure that we are creating projects and programs that support people for many, many years to come. Our big focus is sustainability. So one of the key things that we're providing, as well as money to the grantees, is 1 year of wraparound support. And I will get onto that as well later on in the session. So in this, as hopefully you received an email from me that give you the agenda of what today's session is going to be about, but I'm just going to go through every single question in the stage 1 and stage 2 application, as well as touch on a couple of things here and there in terms of the other stages. So stage 1, expression of interest. Obviously, first name, we need to know who the point of contact is that we'll be dealing with and speaking to throughout the entire grant process. Last name, email address, obvious stuff. What's your role? We would like you to, everyone that's applying to be a senior manager, part of the senior management team, of the organization, just so that we know that you have the responsibility and the permission to apply for a grant, receive a grant, and move further on that journey with us. The organization's name, standard. Year of launch. We received a lot of questions about how long the organization had to be running to be eligible. We don't have a specific number of years it has to be running, or even number of months it has to be running. We're really focused on the impacts that you're making and what you're doing, which will all be teased out through the stage 1, stage 2 process, and then will be talked about and interviewed on and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of opportunity for you to tell us what you're doing and how you're making a difference. So that's what we're really focused on. But I will say that we are going to prioritize people that are already doing something. It can't be an idea that you have that is just kind of starting to get off the ground. Question 7 is the problem and solution. We want to know what the thing is that you're doing in 50 words. So this is the writing element. There's not a lot of writing in this application, and that's entirely deliberate. We wanted to be as inclusive as possible, and we wanted to make sure that we were able to get you through the application as quickly as possible so that we could give you the money as quickly as possible as well. So for this one, in less than 50 words, we want you to tell us about your organization, what it does, and the problem that you're trying to solve. Standard one, organization website. However, if you don't have a website, in this day and age, everyone that is building something that supports people or engages with people has some kind of online presence that they use to share that information. So if that's a Facebook group, an Instagram page, whatever it is that you use to directly communicate with your beneficiaries, then online, that is, please put the link in there. That's what that is for. It's not, you don't necessarily have to have paid someone to design a fancy website. That isn't a decision-making criteria of Common Core at all. Okay. How are you registered? So this one is a multiple choice question, and we got a few questions about if we prefer CICs, charities, and so on and so forth. It really doesn't matter how you are registered. What will happen is if you're registered or unregistered or sole trader or whatever it might be, it'll just be more steps that we need to look at when it comes to the due diligence process. So if you're unregistered and you get into stage 2, you'll fill out the stage 2 application, which I'm going to talk through as well. And then you'll be interviewed by one of our grant assessors. And the questions that they ask you and the kind of information that they ask you to provide will just be, you'll just have to answer a little bit more detailed. So we've really done a lot of work to make sure that this is as useful and as easy as a process as possible for you. And again, so that we can get you the money as quickly as humanly possible. Registration number. So if you are not registered, please just put NA, like not applicable here. You'll find that if you're not registered, there are a few questions that you have to put NA to, or a couple of things here and there that you have to put NA to. Just forgive us a little bit. We didn't want to have to confuse the process internally by having a bunch of different forms. So in terms of like just making things as quickly as possible on the processing side, we just made the decision that it would become so much easier if we just had one form for everybody, and then we could just have you answer NA. But it's all very, very clear with all the questions that you can answer not applicable for, based on the situation and circumstance that your organization is in. So funding background, this one is to give us a really good understanding of where you stand. It'll come up a couple of times, I believe, between stage 1 and stage 2. But we need to, well, we want to know, to be honest, because one of the things that we've recognized is when it comes to Black-led organizations, there isn't a lot of information out there about this kind of stuff. So funding background, meaning how has your organization been funded since it began? So we've got a number of options in there for you, including personal savings, personal employment income, grant funding, bank loan, payday loan, social investment loan, personal loan, competition winnings. Now, I'll be very clear, this isn't a criteria question at all. I really want us to be able to understand where you're coming from. So that's why this question is there. It's not a case that if you select payday loan or something, then we think you are one type of organization as opposed to another. It's just so that we understand where you're coming from and that we have a better understanding of our cohort in general. Right. Dedicated bank account. Now, one of the things that we are doing, and deliberately so, like I said, again, there's not a lot of writing, it's a lot of multiple choice, yes or no type questions. We're also, for the most part, answering the question for you, because we want you to we want to get the best organizations, the most critical and fitting organizations into the program as quickly as possible. So this one is phrased as, do you have a bank account that is dedicated to this organization and used for nothing else? Now, the way that's phrased, it should kind of tell you, if you remember your exam days, that we would like you to have a dedicated bank account for this organization that is used for nothing else. And you can do that extremely quickly. You can open up a Monzo account. You can open up a Tide banking account. That takes 5 minutes to do. And if you like, this is a good place as any to put it in. If you don't have a Tide banking account and you would want one, it does take 5 minutes to do, and they are a fantastic partner of ours. So you can go to tide.com, I believe, or maybe it's .co.uk, I don't know. But it's the Tide website /do-it-now-now, do it now, with all the hyphens in between. And you'll get a bunch of like discounts on their services in terms of transfers and things like that for a year. You'd obviously, it's a plug for Tide, but also you can do any kind of bank account that you just have a separate one, even if it's a personal account actually, but just have a separate account. Okay. I hope that was clear. Feel free to leave a question in the chat if you think you need a little bit more clarity on that. Impact area. Now, this is not a prioritization of one area is better than another. We're not doing that. What we are trying to understand is more about your organization so that we can, if you do go through to stage 2, the questions that we ask someone that is working in housing and local facilities will be different than the questions that someone that is working in citizenship and community will be asked. Or there's a certain, maybe different questions is the wrong way of putting it, certain level of different context that those questions will be phrased in or framed in that will be posed to you. So that's just an information question at the end of the day. Who do you help? So this one, again, is an information question, but it does help us understand quite a lot about you and your organization and also your beneficiaries. And this is going to go, I believe the next few questions are going to go deep into your beneficiaries or somewhat deep into your beneficiaries, because we not only are we kind of focused on ensuring that you are supported as a Black-led organization, we are also interested in ensuring that the kind of secondary outcome of this is that we are, through Common Core, contributing to the sustainability of organizations that support X number of people. Not saying that that has to be, you have to be supporting an astronomical number of people, but we just want to be able to say, these are the people that are supported by the organizations that we've supported. So yeah, again, for speed, we decided to put it in this form rather than do it in an interview situation where it becomes a much longer conversation as opposed to just multiple choice. Again, I think I've mentioned this a couple of times, but I really do want to make sure that it's understood that unlike other grant funds, we are really interested in supporting not just Black-led or people of color-led. We are interested in supporting Black-led organizations that focus primarily on the Black community. So we're very, very laser focused on the Black community because we want to ensure that the Black community is able to survive through and hopefully thrive through COVID and get to the other side stronger, as opposed to being significantly set back. That was the premise of the fund from the very beginning, and that was a thesis that we pitched when we asked for this money to be able to give to you guys. So we are looking specifically for for organizations that are focused on the Black community. So please do be aware of that. If you don't think that that is you, there are a number of other funds that are out there that we can certainly connect you with as well, in terms of just signposting. But like I say, this is very much specifically for the Black community. Right, so this next little section here is something that you may not have seen in other applications that you've done. But like I say, we're trying to do things as quickly as possible through this process. So what we've tried to do here is understand the impact that you're making, just in terms of kind of reach and kind of individuals that you're supporting. So type A, if you kind of want to understand it in like stuff that you can do on the go, so you can access your newsletter, your Instagram live, things like that you can do on the go. Type B are things that are quite almost to an extent passive on the side of the beneficiary. So for instance, this right here that we're doing right now would be a type B. It's a webinar sort of thing that takes less than 1 day to engage in. And then type C are things that are much more active. So you can see, rather than just kind of watching the screen, the person is now writing. So it's a much more active learning kind of situation, and it would take more than 1 day to engage in that program. And then type D is product based. So we recognize that not everyone is running a service based organization, and we just wanted to have that coverage of product based organizations as well. And it doesn't matter one way or the other. If you're primarily product based, primarily type C, type B, type A, we just need to have an understanding of your organization so that we can make good comparative decisions when we're looking at the aggregate, when we do start screening those decisions. Right. So the next few questions are: how many type A per month? How many type B per month, type C per month, type D per month. And then question 20. Then we are into where in the UK do you work? So we want to know where your beneficiaries are based. It's England so within Greater London, and England outside of Greater London has been differentiated. If you know anything of if you know, if you're here, you're probably a Black person, so you probably do know this. But the majority of the Black community in the UK are based in London. So I think it's over 50, like about 50% or just under 50% maybe of the entire England's Black community is based in London as opposed to outside London. So we've kind of divided the two in that way. And then Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, and you can also choose fairly equal spread across the UK. I do believe that question is a multiple choice. I think you have to choose a specific one. So please just say the question is, where's the majority of your organization's beneficiaries based, not where are people based. Okay. Then scale of operations. So we want to know if you are neighborhood based in England, Scotland, Wales, or Northern Ireland. Local area based in England, Scotland, Wales, or Northern Ireland. That's the last time I'm going to do all the things. It's going to turn into a tongue twister for me. But then region based, multiple regions, national, or you have a fairly equal spread across the entire country. That's also, again, to help us make those comparative decisions. And again, just choose the one that makes the most sense for you. All right. So your income between March 2019 and March 2020. So this is to help us understand what you were doing pre-COVID. So that's pretty much the exact time frame that COVID kind of hit and started really affecting people's finances. And again, this is a COVID fund. So we're trying to support organizations that have been adversely hit by COVID in terms of your income, your expectation for your income for the year, and your kind of bottom line and things like that. As an organization, we've been quite badly hit by COVID in terms of contracts being cancelled, a number of programs having to pause, and so on and so forth. So we're very aware of the reality out there. And having spoken to so many of our own beneficiaries, we're very aware of what you guys are going through. So we just want to know what happened. We're kind of understanding your finances based on the year before, just in stage one. In stage two, we're going to do something slightly different. But in stage one, this is just going to help us again for those comparative purposes. So this one is what percentage of the amount you made between March 2019 and March 2020 came from grants. Now, this is not a decision-making question, it's an information question. So there are a few of these information questions across the entire application, and that's really because I am a research nerd. My professional background was in social policy research, and the reason I started to do it now, and then all of the programs that we run, including this one, is because I was really quite appalled at the lack of research there is into the needs and support and reality of Black-led organizations, particularly in the third sector, civil society, whatever you want to call it. And this information is going to really help us understand how best we can help you in the future as well. So there are a few of these. So just don't feel pressured is basically what I'm trying to say when you're answering the questions, to like everything is a make or break. Just be clear and as real as possible and answer them, because not all the questions are criteria making questions, as I'm sure you would have already noticed, or hopefully my reassurance is helpful. Run rate. So this is how much you spend per month. That is basically what we're trying to understand is how far the 3,000, 1,000, 3,000 will go. It is not a decision maker of like you spend, I don't know, £500 a month or you spend £20,000 a month. That isn't something that we're doing here. We just want to know how much of a difference that money will make to your organization. And yeah, I know the way I'm phrasing it makes it sound like we're going to say, oh, if you make 20,000 if you spend 20,000 a month versus if you spend 500 a month, we're going to, maybe 20,000 is a bit too much. If you spend 1,000 a month as opposed to 500 a month, we're going to say, oh, that means that it's going to go further with the 500 a month organization. That's not what we're doing. We just want to understand how much of a drop in the bucket the money that we do give you is. Okay. Pre-COVID outlook. So, was your organization profitable before COVID? Not a lot of organizations are profitable. So, again, this is not a deal breaker, but it's just for us to be aware. Impact of COVID on your organization. So, this is, I think, the only one, like the second of three, if not the only two. But the second question that you have to write in, and it's maximum 100 words, and it's for our knowledge, for our context, so we understand what's happening out there and how we can best help you, because we are determined to ensure that every single person that applies gets some form of help from us. So this will just help us make those kinds of decisions as to what we signpost you to, and what we kind of try and engage you with in the future as well, on that front. Again, did you get a COVID grant? Did you get any kind of government support? This again is just about us helping, understanding where we help you, how we signpost you, and understanding where the Black community is generally when it comes to these types of the types of support that the government has been offering. We're not going to take, I know I've said a lot about data and things like that. We're not going to take your data and suddenly say this organization has been doing this and this other organization has been doing that. We're not publicizing the data in that way at all. If we do publicize data, it'll be extremely anonymized data, entirely like aggregate information. So like 20% of organizations that applied, 30% of organizations that applied, no one will know it as you, or your organization at all. But it is really important for larger funds and foundations and people that have the money to support Black communities, to understand what Black communities are actually facing as we try to bridge the gaps of budget, like the government cuts over the past 10 years and the kind of austerity that people have experienced that have led to many of our local communities in which most Black people live in, well, not most, about 20% of the Black population lives in areas in the country that have been deemed to be underserved, or have lack of opportunity of jobs and things like that. So with all of those measures, it kind of falls into the wayside every once in a while that the third sector organizations, particularly Black-led organizations working in those spaces, bridge the support gap for individuals living there. And so this will kind of help us contextualize all of that, so that we can kind of go out and say, hey, you guys need to, if not give us more money, just create your own Black focus grants as well. So your burn rate is, so we talked about run rate earlier, which is the amount of money that you spend each month. Your burn rate is how long is it going to take for you to run out of money. Now, again, this is not a kind of race to the finish line of the worse off you are financially, the more likely you are to get money. That isn't it. This is an information question. All right. Question 29. How many people are on your organization's senior leadership team? Now, we define senior leadership team as the people that have responsibility for the running of the organization. So it's like, I don't know, if you have a board, if you have a CEO, whatever it might be, like you know your organization, so you know who you consider to be senior leaders and who you might consider to be volunteers or staff, or like ad hoc freelancers or whatever it might be. So this is for you to define, and it's just for us to make note of, so that in stage 2 we can have that conversation as to how that all works with you. Now, one of the things that we're very interested in is ensuring that, again, like I said, this is a fund to support Black-led organizations, focusing on Black communities. So we want to know that the organization that you're running is Black or mixed with Black-led. So not every single person has to be Black on your team, but we would like to know how many people are Black on your team, and we would like it to be the majority of your senior leadership team, but I mean, it's not entirely a deal breaker. So how many of your senior leadership team are women? This is not a deal breaker. Again, it's primarily, these are really information questions, to be honest. But we would like to know so that we can contextualize. How many of your team are identify as LGBTQ plus? Again, it's an information question, and obviously it's how many people are openly LGBTQ plus. How many of your senior leadership team have lived experience of the problem that you are specifically trying to solve that you spoke about earlier? And this one links most closely to the 1 year of support, although all the information we get will be kind of analyzed and will link into how we support the granted organizations, as well as the organizations that are just generally part of our community. So people that sign up to our newsletter and so on and so forth will get access to invitations to sessions that can help them build their organizations better. And this question is multiple choice, so you can pick, I believe, 5 different areas that we've chosen, and it's just for us to kind of make sure that we're doing the best job to support you. Right. And then here, question 35, how much money? So it's between 1,000 and 3,000 pounds. Again, it is not it's not like the lowest amount of money that you ask for means that you're more likely to get that money. It's also not that the highest amount of money that you ask for means that you're likely to get that money. What we are expecting is that one, we ask you this question a couple of times, and like stage 1, stage 2, and then in the interview as well. So there will be an expectation that you'll probably change your mind, or need more money or less money as we go through the processes, as we really talk to you about what impact you're trying to create and what you're doing and how much money it will actually cost. And in some cases, we can provide things like help or discounts, I don't know, or pro bono support, so you may not need money for the thing that you wanted to cost money to. So that's kind of, we want to be able to track that transition. So it's just a starting point, more than anything, this particular question in this stage. Okay, it was 3 questions. So 3 writing questions. So final question of the stage 1 application is, what do you want to do? So what do you want to do with the money? In one short sentence, I'm reading the actual application question here. In one short sentence, give us a brief on what you want to spend the money on. This can be anything that you think will help your organization overcome the crisis. Now, we said in the I believe in the eligibility page of the website that this is an unrestricted grant. So the difference between restricted and unrestricted means, so restricted grants are based on specific projects. So for instance, I mean, a restriction of a grant would be, as Do It Now, we cannot spend the money that we got from Common Call on anything but Common Call. An unrestricted grant would be, you can spend the money on anything related to Do It Now, but you have to tell us what you're going to spend the money on. So it's not that you get the money and then you can do whatever you want with it, but it is like that as well. Like, we probably won't say you can't spend it on that, probably. But we also will ensure that we just want to know what that money is being spent on, so that we have good oversight and that we can report back to our funder, so that we know that we're kind of being diligent as well. So that is the stage 1 application. I'm going to move directly on to stage 2. And then after that, we'll go through a couple of other little bits and pieces, and then we'll get into questions. I am seeing your questions pop up in the chat, so thank you for that. Do keep sending them through. We've got quite a lot of time for questions at the end, so do send those questions through. Okay. Oh, I should have mentioned, deadline for this is August 31st, 7 p.m. So the actual, if I'm not mistaken, it takes organizations about 20 minutes I'm trying to remember that exact number on the form, but it takes about 20 minutes to go through the applications. And we, like I said earlier, we deliberately made it as quick as possible. So if you haven't submitted your application yet, do go ahead and make sure you do that before the 31st. Stage 2, due diligence. This is our due diligence process. So it starts off with a questionnaire similar to stage 1, and then that questionnaire will be the bulk basis of the interview that you then do with one of our grant assessors. So it's the first 5 questions are very much a repeat of the stage 1 application. And again, like I said, we're trying to make sure that we don't have to do so much individual cleaning of data and like matching and so much like stuff like that, so that we can just spend the time getting the money out as quickly as possible. So forgive the fact that there's a repeat of these questions, and there's a couple of repeats of other questions as well, but framed slightly differently, like the money one that I talked about earlier. Okay, so this isn't a question that we asked before about our points of contact, but oh, by the way, it should be the same person filling out both stage 1 and stage 2 applications, just so we're clear. So are you 18 or over? Our point of contact will not be able, we cannot give a grant to anyone as a point of contact who is not over 18. So just be very aware of that. If there's someone else in your organization that is a director of your organization, or a board member that is over 18, you can ask them to be the point of contact instead. So charitable purpose. This one is I'm just realizing that you don't have access to this questionnaire yet. So when you do, you'll see that it's a multiple choice question, and we've basically just gone to the government's description of charitable purpose and turned that into a multiple choice like tick as relevant to you. And we've also given the link to the government's definition of all of those different things. So it's kind of like the sustainable development goals to an extent. You kind of align yourself with a goal and you know the meaning of the goal. Align yourself with a charitable purpose and know the meaning of the charitable purpose. And again, this is for our reporting so that we know that the grants that we're giving out are to organizations that have an explicit charitable purpose, and that's part of our due diligence process. Retroactive spending. So you will not be able to spend the money that we give you on things that you have already paid for or you are owing money on. So if you have bills that are mounting up, unfortunately you won't be able to, you'll still have to account for the money that we give you. You can't say that I want to use the money to pay for bills that I have on my business. That unfortunately we can't do that. So just be aware when you're saying what you want to spend the money on, that isn't a thing that we can support. Sorry. Next question. So spending exclusion. So it very quickly moves on to what we definitely will not be able to spend, give you money to spend on, and it just does that explicitly so that you have the list. And I'll just say the list out here. So it's property or other capital items like buildings, renovations, vehicles, overseas travel, expeditions or some kind of adventure, residential courses, academic research, websites. It's one thing to maintain a website, but not to kind of build your website. Student fees, scholarships or bursaries, loan or debt repayments, like I mentioned, publications or seminars, if it's not part of a wider proposal. So if you're applying and saying, I'd like £2,000 to publish a magazine, then you might want to rethink the way that works, because we can't do anything that's a publication or like an event or something just on its own. It has to be part of something much more rounded. You will not be able to use the money to create works of art. You will not be able to use the money to contribute to an endowment, and you can't use the money to kind of ironically, considering the fact that we were given this money to give you can't take the money and then give it to someone else. So just be aware of those. Income expenditure. Okay, so this is a question that we're asking you to upload your organization's income and expenditure, and we're not asking you for your management accounts, your annual accounts. We're asking you to fill in a template that we have created. And I know this is definitely more work for those of you who already have your annual accounts, your management accounts, whatever it might be, available. So you could just upload that. But like I said earlier, we're really focused on ensuring that this is inclusive of all types of organizations. And we're also trying to make sure that we are leveling the playing field, and we're making sure that our data is comparable so that we're making the best decision possible. So everyone is going to be filling in the same Excel spreadsheet, and the spreadsheet itself has a lot of instructions all over it. So hopefully it is not difficult to understand at all. I can't share that with you here, but for those of you who do get through to stage 2, I am always available for you to kind of just email me and say, hey, I don't understand this. Can we jump on a quick call or something like that? And can you talk me through it? Maybe depending on how many people, it might be a group call as opposed to an individual one-on-one. Or I might just email back if you ask me the question exactly, which would be very helpful, because we have a lot of fantastic organizations, and we're expecting quite a lot of people to get through to stage 2 based on the quality of applications that we've gotten. So please do be as helpful as possible when you're emailing and asking for help. So just kind of state in the email what you need help with exactly, so that I could just kind of email you back immediately. All right, next one. When is your current financial year end? So I want you to understand this as easily as possible here. So your current financial year end is the current year. So it's where you are in your accounting period. Now, those of you who don't have like an accounting period, it would just be your, like, if you are unregistered sole trader, those types of things, it would be the calendar year. But for those of you who are running established organizations that have an accountant, have like the things that you file with Companies House or the Charities Commission or whoever every year or every couple of years, you'll know your year end. So we just need to know what that year end is. Oh, by the way, if it is the calendar year, your year end is December 31st, 2021. 2020. Wait, what? Yeah, 2020, December 31st, 2020. Thank you. Okay, so question 12 of the stage 2 application. The money must be spent in your current financial year. So if, like I said, if you are unregistered or you have a calendar year, if your year end is December 31st, that means whatever you're intending to spend the money on, you must be able to spend that money before your current financial year end. That has to do with a number of due diligence things for us to make sure that the way that we're granting money is done according to the way that we promised that we would grant the money, and that we can report it effectively. But it's also a due diligence thing to help people that are unregistered, people that are registered as limited by shares or CIC by shares and things like that. So it'll kind of support with that. And I believe there's a more explicit question on that coming up. So yeah, but like I said, inclusive, everyone on the same playing field. And apologies if it makes a few of the more established organizations a little bit it's a bit different than what you might be used to, but we are very, very focused on making sure that this is as inclusive as possible to smaller organizations as well. So this is a repeat of the question. How much money are you asking for? So now that you have that stage 2 information, assuming you filled in your stage 1 application before you saw this video, and you now have the stage 2 information, how much money do you actually need, knowing that we won't give you money for certain things? And you also know that you need to spend it before your year end. So and we'll be tracking the changes, not against you as an individual to say, oh, they changed their mind, but for our own information. Then question 14 on stage 2 is, how do you plan to spend the money? So that is a writing question. It's maximum 200 words, and we are asking you to do bullet points. So we want short, simple sentences. We don't want prose. If you write prose, fine, but we would prefer short, quick, to the point sentences, just so we can understand what you're doing very, very quickly. It's not the space to try and justify your mission or your vision or anything like that. It's a very practical question. We want to know how you're spending the money, but at the same time, there is a mission and vision aspect to it, because we want you to be able to link it to your charitable purpose. But really, in that question, do focus on exactly what you're going to spend the money on. And then in the second part of it, maybe leave 50 words to say, 150 words on, this is what I'm going to spend the money on, 50 words on, and if we get this money, we will be able to support this many people in this area. This many people, they are all, I don't know, ex-offenders, and we'll be able to help them get to this outcome, that kind of thing. Right, notification mode. So question 15, we recognize that things change. Things change, as we know, that we definitely all know by now. Things change very, very quickly, and they can change quite a lot very, very quickly. So we aren't trying to kind of hold your hand too much, and we don't have the capacity to hold everybody's hand too much, actually. But we do want to make sure that we have oversight over our own due diligence. So if you have to make a change to the way that you're spending money to a value that is over £250 of the money that you've been granted, you will have to tell us. So this question is just for you to know that, and for you to give us to give consent to just accept that information, so we have it on record that you know that that's the case. So specific and accurate accounting. The question is phrased as, how do you plan to ensure you can provide a specific and accurate accounting for the grant that we give you? And we actually provide an example. So I'll just read out the example here. For example, you can use a separate bank account, and I think I mentioned this earlier as well, that is dedicated directly to this grant, so that the bank statement is a clear and accurate account of your spending. Or you can use your accounting software or a spreadsheet to show it. We want to know how your organization can best provide this information. So in stage 1, I believe I asked if you have a separate account. In stage 2, we're asking if you have a specific way within that separate account, or if you can create another separate account to manage this funding. So if you have already gotten submitted your stage 1 application, and you're like, oh no, we could just quickly open a second account, but I said no, because we don't currently have a second account, and it's just everything goes through my personal account. That isn't a problem, because like I said, it is very easy to open a second account. So it's not a deal breaker that you don't have one. We just won't be able to give you the money until you open one. So now that you know this, going into stage 2, once you get that information about that you're in stage 2, and yay, good grace, good gosh, whatever that, I don't know what saying I'm trying to land on. Once you know that you're in stage 2, you have about a week. It's a very quick turnaround from stage 1 to stage 2 deadlines. So you have about a week to fill in this application. And like I said, it takes about 5 minutes if you're registered. It takes about 5 minutes to open a Tide business account. And it takes, if you already have a bank account, you can probably get your current bank account to open I don't know how quickly Barclays or Halifax works, but Monzo, although there are things in the news. Anyway, I'm sure you can find some way to open a bank account very, very quickly. And then if it's just impossible for you, well, hopefully you'll have gotten to stage 2 based off of other merits anyway, and we'll just talk about it in the interview. Safeguarding policy. Now, this is one of the things that kind of trips people up. So it's an upload question. So we want you to upload your safeguarding policy, and it's probably in the form of a Microsoft Word doc or a PDF. That's not the part that trips people up. It's usually because people don't have a safeguarding policy already. And it is standard practice to have one at this point. So if you don't have one, please set one up as soon as possible. Get your board to agree it, or your senior leadership team to agree it. We've in that application, we actually have a link to an NSPCC training doc that teaches you how to put together a safeguarding policy. So the reason we're doing stage 1 and stage 2 in this video is so that you can start preparing for stage 2 on the hope that you get through to stage 2. And even if you don't get through to stage 2, the application itself is built in a way that you understand what any other grant funder is looking for. So hopefully the explanations I'm giving you will give you a really good understanding of where you should be on the side of right in terms of management of your finances, management of your policies and board and all of that stuff we'll get onto. But yeah, it's just to help you understand where you should be in the grand scheme of things anyway. And again, while we are not excluding people for the same reasons that many people would be excluded generally, like I said, we're kind of giving you the answer. Especially in this question, we have literally a link to say this is how you do it. Please do it before you submit. We are also really interested in helping people get through those tick boxes for due diligence before we give the money. So you might find that we're like, hey, we want to give you money, but you haven't done this, this, and this. Can you do those things? And when you do those things, we will transfer the money to you. That's where we want to be in terms of how Common Core works. So just be aware of that. I mean, take a shot every time I say we're trying to be inclusive of different types of organizations and smaller organizations. But yeah, we're trying to be inclusive. Okay, asset lock. Do you have an asset lock? It's a yes or no question. If you are a charity, or if you're running a charity, or you're running a social enterprise, so specifically a CIC by guarantee, or a CIC limited by shares, or a charitable trust, or a charitable incorporated organization, or any one of those things, you will automatically have an asset lock in your articles of association and all of those other official documents you got when you registered. But if you are limited by shares company, you may not have one. So this is to help you get to a place, just kind of recognize that. And it is honestly, this is a criteria question. We need you to have an asset lock. So knowing that, if you really want to go for this grant, if you want to go for any grant really, as limited by shares particularly, you need to kind of work on that as soon as possible, or so on and so forth. Unregistered and things like that. We have other processes in terms of the asset lock thing, but if you're registered and you don't have an asset lock, we'll need to talk about what the workaround is, or we might just kind of hold the money until you sort that out, which is not that difficult to do. I've been told. I've never had to set one up myself, so I don't know the process. But do go ahead. And I'm just actually remembering that you guys got the questions in your email that I sent you earlier. So hopefully you are following through with me on that document as well. We're now on question 19 of stage 2. So this is about deep diving into your organization's governance structure. Basically, we just want to know more about your board. So do you have a trustee/advisory board is the first question. And then it's basically just a yes or no, really. And then how often does the board meet? Now, if you don't have an advisory board or a trustee board in place, this is one of those, the next series of questions have a lot of please type not applicable if you do not have a board. So again, please type non-applicable if you don't have a board. So next one, board recruitment process. How did you get this board on board? Please type non-applicable if you don't have a board. What's the board's role across your organization? So is there a voting process? Do they have to approve things? If you have a board, you'll know how to describe your board role. So it's a writing question, but it's a short writing question. So it doesn't say this in the application, but it'll probably be like 50 words, or the guidance will be 50 words or so. So just be very brief. Your board is mainly Black or mixed. Yes or no. Type non-applicable if you don't have a board. Your board members, do more than 50% of your board members identify as having a lived experience of the problem that you're trying to solve? So again, non-applicable if you don't have a board. Now, this one is particularly useful for limited by shares companies, and we've actually fixed it somewhat by ensuring that you spend the money in the way that you said that you were going to spend it before your year end, before your financial year end, because we need to make sure that for limited by shares companies, we are making sure that the money isn't going to be distributed as dividends or profits or anything like that. So it's a yes or no question. Will any of the money we give you be directly used to benefit company directors as a means of distribution of profits from your organization? Yes or no. If you're a charity, CIC, any of those things, it'll automatically be no, because you are not a profit sharing company. If you are a profit sharing company, we would need to understand, we would need to know that the money is going to be spent before your year end, so that none of the money that we give you will be used in that way. Right. Okay, yeah. One scroll. Okay, so question 26, account details. We just want to know what account you want us to transfer the money into. The registered or residential address. So we want to know your address. So this is kind of heading into the proof of identity like area. So registered or residential address. So if it's your registered address, if you're an organization that is registered, it's your residential address if you're an organization that is not registered. Here we go. So bank statement. So we need the bank statement for the account that you would like us to put the money in. And ideally, the bank statement should be addressed to your registered/residential address. And in terms of data, I am Common Call's data manager, as well as the fund manager, as well as the presenter of information sessions. And do you know that I will be the one that, except for one piece of data, I will be managing all the data, and I will be I would be the only one seeing any of that data. The only thing that will be seen by someone else is your photo ID, which we're coming on to in a second, because we need to make sure that the person that we're speaking to via the video call where you do your interview is the person that applied, is the person that we've gotten all this information from. So you'll just kind of be compared via that picture. Proof of address, you should provide us with a proof of address, which is like, it can be a tax bill, utility bill, tenancy agreement, HMRC letter, but your proof of address should be either your registered, if you're a registered organization, it should be your registered address. If you're an unregistered organization, it should be your residential address. Obviously, registered, your organization's name, unregistered, your name. Proof of identity, like I said earlier, your passport, driving license, anything with your passport or your driving license, either one of those two, not anything, either one of those two has your picture on it, and we would need either a scanned upload or a picture taken of it that is clearly visible of everything on that on that kind of piece of identity information, and upload that so that we can kind of compare to make sure that we're talking to the right person. All right, question 31. Your consent to understanding our privacy policy. So we've got, obviously, like most every organization at this point, a privacy policy that we need you to consent to, because we're going to be analyzing this data, reading through it. Other people are going to be reading through it. So we need you to understand how we use your data. And like I said, I'm the data manager, so I'm very conscious of how all of that works and making sure that we are protecting you in every single way, shape, and form. And then GDPR consent. So we want to be able to contact you to, like I said earlier, signpost you to different opportunities and things that might be helpful to you, as well as ask you for information about your organization from time to time so that we can understand more about the sector and support people better. People like you better. Like I said, it's a very short turnaround from the first deadline for stage 1, which is August 31st, to the second deadline for stage to the deadline for stage 2, which is September 7th. So like I said, because of the way that the stage 1 application is organized, we will be able to go through that very, very, very quickly. So we expect to spend 1 day. So basically from 7 p.m., I believe. Yeah, 7 p.m. on the 31st of August to 1st of September, like that 7 p.m. 1st of September, we should have the final list of people who are going on to stage 2. And that is because of the way that the application itself is organized. So we're moving very, very quickly. And I just ask you to be very really laser focused on your inbox so that you can maximize that time. Okay, so once you've done the stage 2, once you've been invited to stage 2 and you have given us the answer, you filled in the stage 2 application, you will then be assigned to a grant assessor who will then interview you as a representative of your organization and just talk you through a bunch of things. So the interview, we are deliberately forming the interview as a kind of workshopping session. It is about supporting you as an organization as well as finding out more about it. So interview is probably not the right term to use practically. It's more of a consultation. So the expertise of the grant assessors, who are all very, very well versed in this space and have worked in the third sector and so on for quite a while. So they will be using that expertise to kind of help you think through a couple of things. Like I said, if you're saying, oh, we'd like to spend money on this, it could be a thing of, oh, maybe that isn't the thing you should be spending money on right now. Maybe there's something else you could be spending money on. Or do you think this is enough money? Or maybe this is too much money for what you're actually trying to do. So things like that. It's kind of a workshopping to get you to the best place possible. Because what the grant assessors are going to do is basically write an investment memo or a grant memo. That 1-page, 2-page thing is then going to be the document that pitches your organization to our panel. So the grant assessor is not a decision maker in this process. The grant assessor is someone who is supposed to help you get to the best version of your organization so that we can then pitch you to the panel. So the panel deliberates. So we're going to announce the panel I think in the last week of August. So you'll know who the panel is. And we decided to let you know who the panel is because we want to make sure that we have that transparency level. I'm a big believer in aggressive transparency is what I call it, but it basically just means giving people information that they're curious about and that they want to know because they think it will empower them. So we just want you to know who the panel is, basically. You might not care at all. I don't know if you would care, but I think I would like you to care, I think. So that's why we're making it public. Okay. Once the panel deliberates, and that will take for everything to kind of be organized, that should take no more than a week or 2 weeks maximum, I would think, to finalize. And what we are going to then do is, once we know who the panel has chosen, we'll reach out to everyone individually and kind of send, depending on what stage you're at and what the kind of due diligence things or kind of red flags may be that come up with your organization, there might be a need to say, hey, can you go away, do this? And then once you've done that, we'll send you a grant letter. So that's where we are with it. So that's probably when we're going to be the most hands-on with you throughout the process so far. And once that's all done, then the grant will be announced. So it's not an indefinite process. If you haven't done the work within a couple of weeks of a window, then it will be a case that we just kind of move on, because we need you to move very, very quickly, because we have a deadline that we're working towards as well in terms of getting these grants out. So please do understand that any kind of time constraints that we put on you are because we know that we have very, very, very specific deadlines to hit, for us to make sure that we can kind of represent ourselves in the best way possible. Okay. And then 1 year of support. So after we provide you with the grant, we'll then also be providing you with 1 year of support. So that information that we gave you earlier to explain, to ask you to kind of tick those boxes as to what you need, will then be basically what we use to form a program. So we've been running programs for 4.5 years now. We've run 54 programs, I think, maybe 55 now, programs over the course of that time. So we're very well versed in running support programs, and we'll give you access to some of our kind of readily available online programs. But then we'll also give you access to an ad hoc program that is based just on the information that you provided us. And in that application document that you were emailed, you will have seen a save the date for Saturday, 24th of October, 3 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. And that's when we'll kind of give all of the grantees the opportunity to kind of get together and meet each other virtually, and kind of talk through everything that you guys do, so that you can kind of build relationships across a number of different opportunities. Okay, so thank you very much for listening to me. I do appreciate your time. I know that it has been a lot of me talking, and I'm already seeing some of the questions come through. But yeah, I'm looking forward to kind of going through some of the questions. Like I said, I'll be starting with the questions that came through. Oh, no, what am I doing? There you go. Sorry. I'll be starting with the questions that came through via the submission form that we had on the event page. Right. So Tony asks, as an organization delivering direct interventions to our community beneficiaries, we don't sell products or services. Would it be detrimental to our application not having a type D service? The answer to that is no. There is no particular type that we're looking for. We just want to have oversight over what's happening. Okay. Robbie asked, do I have to be a limited company to apply for funding? The answer is no, you don't. You can be any kind of company that you want. It will just take a little bit longer to get through the due diligence process. So you'll just have to work with us a little bit more so that we can get you the money. Natalie asked, sorry, I'm going through these quite quickly. I want to make sure that we have time for quite a few the comments that have come through. So how long does your company need to be established before receiving grants like Common Core or similar? We are a little bit out of like the range of what normal grants do, in that we are not specific on time, but we would like you to be up and running and have some impact under your belt. Okay. Natalie also asked, do I need to show evidence of impact to qualify for Common Core? Yes, you do. Next question. How do I apply for funding? That is quite easy. It is commoncore.fund/apply. So do you have a go at that application? It will send you to the stage 1 application. Right. Anwar asked, what are the conditions that apply to the grant? So I hope the presentation is giving you a really good idea of what those are, in that it's more individualistic in terms of what you're doing as an organization, and we will help you through the due diligence process as much as we can. But so in terms of like traditional criteria, we don't have that much criteria, but what we are very much specific about is Black led or mixed with Black led, and predominantly Black beneficiaries. So those are the two main ones. Louise asked, when will the grants be given out? So if everything goes to plan, and thankfully it has been so far, the grants will be given out in October. So which is Black History Month, which kind of works out quite nicely. Okay. And then we've got just a few more here. Can you tell me a bit more about the 1-year support offer? So hopefully what I said earlier covers that. It'll be virtual sessions, likely monthly sessions, to kind of cover those areas that you have kind of all said that you would like some help in. And it'll be like something like this, where you just have a speaker talking to you and presenting, and you get the opportunity to submit questions ahead of time and submit questions during. And also, we are quite interested in ensuring that we can match individual grantees to each other, grantee organizations to each other, to have conversations. So that'll be part of it. And then we are already trying to get some support your way by connecting you and signposting you to other funds and things like that that might be interested in supporting you further. So at the moment, the 1 year of support is a little bit up in the air in terms of specificity, but it is going to be for 1 year, and it will be organized, but it will be because we've done so many of them. I suppose we're not worried about being able to do it and do it very well. We are just ensuring that we can tailor it as much as possible to you guys, which is why we want to have the deadline come through for stage 1 first, before we kind of have an exact plan as to what that 1 year of support will look like. Are startup enterprises without an established team welcome to apply? Yes, you can. Like, you can be unregistered, you can be, as long as you have some impact. Depends what you mean by established. You don't need to have employees specifically. We are looking for people that have smaller teams. We are trying to make sure that we are being inclusive to very small organizations, and that we can support as many people as possible. So it really depends on how you answer every other question, really. Okay. So Bola also asked, what are the fund managers looking for in applicants? Well, I'm the fund manager, and I can tell you I'm not specifically looking for anything in applicants. Because I'm just kind of looking for really great organizations that are Black led and supporting Black people. Right. What will the monitoring process look like? So that is going to be pretty much ad hoc. So we talked about the information about the £250 over if you have to change your budget. We're also going to be asking for an end of term report. So once you've spent the money, once you've hit that year end or whatever it is in terms of timing of you have finished spending the money or doing the thing that you said you were going to do, then we will have a conversational reporting process, monitoring process with you. So it's not sending us a bunch of written text, it's just having a call and talking through how you did, and not necessarily how you did, but what you did. Right. So again, to kind of go through and say, this is the application link. Please do go ahead and apply when you, within the next couple of weeks. The deadline is 31st of August, 7 p.m. Okay, now I will head over and go to the comments. Oh, okay. Go to the comments to choose the questions. Oh, apologies, Caribbean connections. Hopefully you got the sound sorted out. If you didn't, you can watch this back at a later time. Okay. Erica says, I will need a little bit more about Tide account. Tide Business Banking is just a business banking application. Yeah, you can just we're a Tide Business Banking partner, so we can help you sort that out if you want to. But you can use any kind of bank. I just kind of plugged it in there. Probably shouldn't have. Not necessarily shouldn't have, but it wasn't. It's not like you have to use Tide at all. You can use any bank. So hopefully that's helpful. If you're on this call, you probably have my email address, so you can feel free to email me, and I will do my best to get back to you with a detailed answer for anything that you think needs a detailed answer. Right. Witty Careers asks, is it possible to resubmit a stage 1 application? We are hopeful that people will not resubmit stage 1 applications. We didn't expect to have so many applications in the first half. We kind of thought it would be a very slow build up. So the fact that it's been so well received is wonderful and very exciting. So before I would have been okay with everyone with people resubmitting, but we're asking you not to resubmit your application unless you think what you've written in the application is entirely like wrong or different, in which case you would probably resubmit your application to any grant as opposed to just like a short thing that I've said that made you think, oh, I'd like to just change that answer or this answer. So maybe if you're thinking there's something I specifically said, go back and watch this video when it's done and kind of see if it was an information question, which I did say a lot for a lot of them. If it was an information question, it's not a decision question. So it's not going to be a deal breaker. So if you can resubmit if you want to, but I'm not kind of encouraging it, because we'd like to be able to, like I said, clean the data and review all of it very, very quickly. So help us out, please. All right. Okay, this one. Cognitive paths. We have different audiences based on our project and have a core audience. Are you asking based on the whole organization or the project we're applying for? This is an unrestricted grant, so it's not project based at all. We're looking for organizations, so it's the whole organization. What if your reach is primarily annual and not monthly? In that case, divide by 12. So it's an average, not because some people will do things, be more active in like off months, so every other month or something like that. So it's basically just add it all up, the annual thing, and then divide by 12 so that we know the monthly rate. Again, it's for comparability more than anything, and just data understanding. Okay, and that was rapport festival. Thank you for the question. Thank you for the question, everybody. I haven't been saying that, but apologies. I'm slightly overwhelmed with the number of questions and just trying to get through as quickly as possible. Right. Again, if you think you need a detailed answer that I haven't given, feel free to email me. We target a young, diverse audience, primarily from disadvantaged communities. Would not be able to apply for this grant as we don't only work with just Black young people. That's from Unique Talent Discovery. Thank you for the question. So basically we're saying you should have around 50% of your beneficiaries be Black or mixed with Black. That's what we're focused on. So we recognize that not everyone is going to be focused entirely 100% on Black. So we are, as an organization, Do It Now, focused entirely 100% on Black people. They're not all of that many organizations like ours. So it is 50% and over. Right. Christiane asked, how do you calculate your monthly costs? So hopefully you have a spreadsheet or your bank statements or something like that will help you understand that really quickly, just to see how much money on average you spend across a month. So if you have 6 months of accounts and you have a different number in each month, just add those 6 months together, divided by 6, and you have the average monthly cost. So that's kind of what we're looking for. Right. Naomi Louise, apologies. Excuse me. Whilst we work with and in predominantly Black area, and so many of our beneficiaries are Black mixed, we never turn away, regardless of race, or does this preclude us from applying? I hope the answer I gave to Unique Talent Discovery answers that question. It just depends on 50% rule, I think, is what we're going. This is thankfully, really thankfully, there are a lot of people of color focus funds. There are a lot of general focus funds and COVID focus funds as well that are also open at this time. We have raised this fund very specifically for a very specific group of people that don't typically get access to funding. So that's why we're being so specific, because we wrote a thesis about, like, we wrote a specific, like, this is what we're gonna do with the money, and we have to hold that up as well. Right. Okay. Okay. I hope we connect CIC. I hope that answer helps as well. Is this grant for Rach? Is this grant for unregistered charities or community voluntary organizations also? You can be unregistered. So look forward to receiving your application. Walk Your Art. Yes, the video will be available to rewatch. Community volunteers that put on events. It depends on how you consider those events in terms of the impact that they're creating and what those events are about. Events are a big part of the way that social enterprises work to bring communities together. So yeah, events matter. Thank you, Nats. Okay. Report festival. What if we wanted to use the funds to enable us to utilize the time to recreate the relevant policies you suggest? Unfortunately, you would have to already be there to get the money. So it's not really a chicken and egg scenario. It's a straightforward line, in that you have to have met our due diligence criteria, and we're being very supportive in the meeting of that due diligence criteria. So you can be chosen and then work towards meeting that criteria within a given time frame. So hopefully that is helpful. Hi, Luke. I'm not familiar with Anna as a business account, but I mean, Monzo, Revolut, Tide, Barclays, Halifax, RBS, whatever business account is you're using, whatever account, it could be also for unregistered people, it could be a separate personal account. Like, you could have your Barclays account for your own business, and then your Monzo for your own personal business, like your own personal things like your rent and bills and stuff. And then you could have a Monzo account that is just dedicated to your organization. So it is entirely a Monzo personal account, I mean. So as long as you have a separate registered, like a separate FCA regulated proper bank account that is legal and functioning as a bank account, then that's fine. Rapport Festival, I did see your comment, but I just answered a similar question. It will be available to watch later. Rach L, yes. Individuals can apply. You can apply as a sole trader or as an unregistered organization. Okay. Patricia has asked, can you be a majority Black-led organization serving disabled beneficiaries from diverse ethnic groups? So this is similar to the question that we got earlier. It's Black-led, Black-focused. I recognize the difficulty of it, and I'm honestly, I really wish we had enough money to kind of just give everybody money, like due diligence or not. But it is just what it is, unfortunately and fortunately, because we do get to help a very specific group of people that are typically just not getting any kind of support. So it's Black led, Black focused, and it's 50% or above Black, or mixed with Black as well. Great. Thank you, Patricia, for the question. Cognitive Paths has asked, I don't apply to many grants, but this sounds extensive for 3K. How is the fund at yourselves as the fund distributor going to use this information now and in the future? So I think I talked about the data management aspect of things. The information that you submit will be used to understand what Black-led organizations that are focused on Black people are dealing with, in terms of stage and all of that stuff, and the effects of COVID as well. Again, it will entirely be anonymized, so there will be no record whatsoever that your organization is doing this. It will be an organization that applied is doing this, and it won't even be it will be 30% of, 50% of. So it will not come back to you as like Cognitive Paths is doing blah de da de da de da. Absolutely not. You don't apply to many grants, but this sounds extensive for 3K. It is extensive, but not in the way that you think. So what we've done is, rather than kind of ask you to guess what we mean, or ask you to think, well, yeah, think outside the box or whatever. We've just we read a lot of applications. We spoke to our own funders, Paul Hamlin Foundation, and we've done a bunch of these types of programs. We've also run a smaller grants program before that was just us with our own money, giving money away to people we wanted to support, and worked with them over a number of months. It is very, very difficult to get any kind of grant money. And it's usually because you don't know what the due diligence questions are. You don't know exactly what you need to be saying in the questions. So that's why a lot of it is multiple choice. It's yes or no's. And to kind of make that happen, it means we're asking more questions, as opposed to 10 questions where you have a lot of like pros boxes and you kind of have to type a bunch of words. We're just asking a whole load of yes or no questions. And I mean, 30 questions per stage, yes or no, 20 minutes per questionnaire. Hopefully that's not extensive. I mean, I'm oh gosh, I hope it's not extensive. It's too much. I hope it's not too much for you guys. But thankfully, the response has been really good so far. So if you do end up applying, please do. I hope you have a good experience of it. Okay, next one. With Nats, with the interview, is it just one person who wrote the application, or can it be two of you? Thinking I may have completed the form but might not be a talker, or one that can pitch, or yes, as long as the person that completed the form is in the room, then it's fine. But we just need to make sure that the person that is our point of contact is the person that we are primarily engaging with throughout the process. And by primarily engaging with, it doesn't mean that you will have to be kind of doing all the like pitch and talking and stuff like that. It just means that we need you to be there. And in terms of like pitching and stuff like that, that isn't actually the point of the interview. The pitching is done by the grant assessor to the panel. So it's a conversation to find out more about your organization so that they can do that pitch on your behalf. So it's not for you to pitch at all. It's just for you to clarify and for them to understand. Thank you for the question, Nats. Naomi has asked, if successful going into stage 2, should we be giving ID for a Black member of the board, or for video interview rather than a white member of the board? Are you expecting Black, or what happened to the question? Okay, so the stage 2 interview, white member of the board, Black member of the board, any member of the board, it's just the best person to do the thing. The fact that we are looking to have the majority of we're interested in whether or not the majority of the board is Black, and whether or not the majority of the board has lived experience. That isn't in itself a deal breaker. That isn't the board aspect of it isn't in itself necessarily the thing that says, oh, we're not. There's no one thing that's going to say we're not going to give you money necessarily, but it's really the SMT, it's the leadership that is active and operational within the organization. The board is typically an advisory function, but we would like the board to also be representative of the organization, but we aren't asking you to be performative with it at all. So if you think there is a white member of your team and an Asian member of your team that would be, or your board or even your team that would be the best person to talk about the work that you are doing, then do bring that person into the meeting. But the point of contact, the person that applied, should be the person that it should be at least one of the people, maximum two, but one of the people that is in that meeting. I have just seen the last bit of the question and it's fine. I understood it. Okay. We have 5 minutes left, so please, no more questions, please, so that we can just kind of get through these ones as quickly as possible. Thank you. I'm going to try not to go over. Right. Oh, thank you. Hi. Thank you, S. That's very kind of you. How big is the overall pot of money that Common Core Fund will be distributing? So we're currently in the middle of raising more money, and we have 50,000 to give to 25 organizations. So that's why it's £1,000 to £3,000 with an average of £2,000 per organization. So it's a very, very small fund, and we had to fight really, really hard to get the small fund, which is why we're being so careful and so specific about everything, because we want to ensure that we can keep raising money, and we are in the middle of raising more money as we speak. So we want this to not be a one-time thing. We really want it to be something that we can continue supporting Black-led organizations focused on Black communities in the UK. But yeah, it's 25 grants that are available. Okay. S has asked, can you recommend any funding from Black-led funders for Black-led organizations that need support to start up? Huh? Wait, can you recommend any funding from Black-led funders for Black-led organizations that need support to start? So you haven't started yet, you're just in the beginning phases. Ooh, a good one to kind of go to for the very, very beginning phases is Unlimited. They have a £500 grant. There's Edge Fund that also has a £500 grant. There's those kind of small grants that are available. Yeah, those are the ones that tend to be out there. But if you may not need money, you may just need support or just like awareness as to how to run it. So we've got something called Black and Good, blackandgood.com, blackandgood.com/SHS. So if you go there, let me see if I can type it. Maybe I can't type it. Okay, never mind. Okay, so it's www. That's the one. If you go there, it's a side hustle support program. It's a 6-week online free program for you to learn like how to start up in a business. And you can just kind of do that. Hopefully that helps. All right. And just the last couple of questions here. Jamila, your question about the asset lock, you don't know what it is. It's basically it gives confidence to the like any funders, grant funders, organizations in general, that you aren't distributing profits. You aren't. I honestly am not the best person to answer this question. I don't understand it 100% myself. I know that you either have it or you, oh my gosh, I'm sounding so dumb. But in terms of asset lock, please just honestly Google it, because that would be a lot clearer than any kind of explanation that I could give you. But I know that charitable organizations, CIC, CICs by guarantee, and so on, CICs limited by shares, all have it already in their articles of association. So it shouldn't, hopefully, if you are unregistered and want to implement an asset lock, please just Google how to implement an asset lock for your organization, and it will hopefully come up. Before the stage 2 application gets put online, I will try to root out some really good resources for you guys to use to create that if you don't already have one. Unique. I It's probably hopefully it's just because I'm reading through all the questions that seems quite complex. Hope try if you've tried the application or just like gone through it, and you still find it very complex, then we can try and see if I can set a call up with either myself or someone else that can help you think through it. But it's not something that we're kind of offering, because we just don't have the capacity to help people through the application beyond this video, as well as the access to the application that we've already made available before you start the application, and then the explanations that we give for each question as well. So we've tried as hard as we can to make this as easy as possible, but oh gosh, do try the application. If you're still finding it very difficult, email me and I'll see what I can do. I'll try and make sure that I make some time. Okay. Oh, I feel like more questions are coming through. Oh no, we're over. If you have to leave, please do leave. And I'll just answer the rest of these questions, and the recording will be up for those of you who are interested in watching later. The grant will be given out in full, not in installments, because it is such a small grant. We are very aware that it's a small grant. So please do recognize that we will be giving you the money in full. Okay. Spending exclusions. You mentioned funds not for, thank you, Jordan, for the question. You mentioned funds not for publications or one-off seminars, only in parts of something bigger. Okay, so basically, if you're saying we want to spend some money on a conference that we think will help young people understand their priorities in education, I don't know, whatever it might be, a one-off conference is not something that we could support. But if you were saying this conference is then going to lead to a 3-month program where we individually coach 20 of the 100 attendees that came through the program, that's what we're doing. However, that is something that would be already implemented within your organization, right? So it's not project-based money, it's organization-based money. So it's not new work, it's to support your organization. So if you have like this one-off project that you do on the it's an event and you want to contribute to it, but not all of the money is going there. It's like, this is a conference that we run every year. We were planning on running this year, but COVID hit and we weren't able to pull it together because we lost funding or whatever. Then some of the money can go to that, but some of the money will be expected to go to other things as well. So that is more of all of your eggs can't be in that one like event basket, basically, if that makes sense. It has to be part of a bunch of different things. Like similarly, websites. So if you need to update your website, it can't be the only thing you're spending money on. Those exclusions are kind of like all of the money is going to this thing, and that's not okay. That's what the exclusions kind of typically mean. Oh, Ugo, who's our fund advisor, is thankfully on the call and has answered Shamila's question about an asset lock. That's why I'm a fund manager and he is a fund advisor. He knows the stuff that I do not know. So Jamila, I hope that is useful to you. Okay. Yeah, the spinning. Okay. So Rach, your question is next. Oh, thank you for that that information. We are okay with you having a tight account. Okay. Jordan, we just answered this question a couple of moments ago, so hopefully you don't have any more questions about that. Okay. All right. And Ugo has also answered the data question as well. So please do have a read about the way that we're using information for it as an evidence base. Oh, cognitive paths already acknowledged. So thank you. Thank you for the compliments as well that I've been seeing dotted around. It's very kind of you. And that is it. Only 5 minutes over. So thank you for those of you who stayed, who were able to stay. Those who weren't able to stay, the video will be available for you to watch. I hope this made things as clear as possible for you. And as you are writing the application or going through stage 2, you can just literally play this video back and listen to like every explanation of every question before you answer. That is it from me. Do enjoy the rest of your Saturday. And yeah, I hope the weather becomes nicer for all of us. Not as hot, but just nicer in general. Okay, thank you very much. And what we'll do here is put this on show. All right, thanks. Bye.